It's just shocking. I wouldn't expect anything less of this sad person because Julia Fox is a person who doesn't have any bounds. She doesn't have anything in her mind that tells her, pump the brakes, slow down, maybe don't. It's like, how crazy can it be? And then I'll double down on that. Last Friday was Halloween, as you know. Now, obviously in Hollywood, Halloween is a big deal. There's always these huge Halloween parties where people come dressed to the nines in extravagant costumes. Heidi Klum's party, the most notable one. And this year she came as Medusa. And everyone always likes to see what she's going to do. But I found her costume the least interesting because it was expected. Let's talk about some of the costumes that were real eye-raising, okay? Now, Julia Fox, who we've talked about ad nauseum on this show because she always comes to award ceremonies and red carpets with exactly zero idea on how to present herself, decided to up the ante when it came to tastelessness at Halloween and put on a costume of Jackie Kennedy having just been present at the assassination of her husband. Here she is in a blood-stained Chanel suit, coming as Jackie Kennedy. You guys. I mean, Halloween is a time when people do all kinds of scary and frightening things. And quite frankly, this is very scary and frightening. It's quite on the nose. But it's just tasteless. To parody and to laugh at and to make fun of somebody's worst day, and the country's worst day in a lot of respects, it's just shocking. I wouldn't expect anything less of this sad person because Julia Fox is a person who doesn't have any bounds. She doesn't have anything in her mind that tells her, pump the brakes, slow down, maybe don't. It's like, how crazy can it be? And then I'll double down on that. And she got extreme backlash. People did not think it was funny. They did not think it was clever, even though it is very horrific and the day calls for all kinds of horror. It's interesting that somehow we can bestir our moral conscience to be horrified by frightening things when it comes to the Kennedy family. But there's lots of people who dressed up to mock other assassinations, and there didn't seem to be enough of an outcry about that. So I guess if it's the Kennedy family, it's no. But if it's the Kirk family, help yourself. You know, it's really sad. It's weird. Yeah, it was just weird to me to see conscience on one level, but no ability to contain ourselves on another. On a less serious note, Kayla Nicole came dressed as Tony Braxton in the video He Wasn't Man Enough. Now you say to yourself, who in the world is Kayla Nicole? I don't blame you for not knowing. Kayla Nicole was Travis Kelce's girlfriend before Taylor Swift. And it would appear that Kayla is pretty bitter about all the attention that Travis and Taylor Swift are getting because nobody cared about Travis back when she was with him. And now everyone's always talking about Travis and everyone's celebrating his engagement to Taylor Swift and acting like it's the best thing ever. Well, she doesn't think it is, and so she decided to be real petty about it. She comes out as Tony Braxton. And if you don't recall the lyrics from Tony Braxton, He's Just Not Man Enough, let me read those for you. Some of the lyrics go, don't you know that he was my man, but I chose to let him go. So why do you act like I still care about him? Look at me like I'm hurt when I'm the one who said I didn't want it to work. It goes on to say, what you thinking? Stop blaming me. He wasn't man enough for me. If you don't know now that he's your chance, I've already had your man. Do you wonder just where he's been? Don't be worried about him. Now it's time you know the truth. I think he's just the man for you. What are you thinking? Do you know about us back then? You know I dumped your husband, girlfriend. I'm not thinking about him, but you married him. Do you know I made him leave? Do you know he begged to stay with me? He wasn't man enough for me. Listen, girl, didn't he tell you the truth? If not, then why don't you ask him? Then maybe you can be more into him instead of worrying about me. And hopefully you won't find all the reasons why his love didn't count and why we couldn't work it out. Goes on and on and on likewise. One of the stupidest, most petty songs of all time. Kayla, why are you doing that? You don't like him. Y'all aren't together anymore. And if he wants to marry Taylor Swift, more power to him. You know, if she wants to marry him, more power to him. But to make your whole Halloween costume about the fact that you're bitter about somebody getting with somebody else, but you're going to be passive aggressive about it, I can see why he's not with you anymore. What a lame thing to do. It's so lame. But is it as lame as Lily Allen coming out dressed as Madeline for Halloween? Now, what are you talking about, Cheer? Well, let me tell you. As you'll recall from this channel, we read all the lyrics from Lily Allen's album West End Girl, in which she is scathingly retelling the story of how her husband, David Harbour of Stranger Things, cheated on her for years in their marriage, and then she stumbled upon it when she was going through his phone. And she finds texts from a girl who she has called in her songs Madeline. Now, she comes to Halloween dressed as Madeline, but Madeline from the children's book character, the little delightful story about the orphan girl who falls in the water, but then her dog saves her. And then the dog goes missing, but then they find the dog and she has puppies and everybody at the orphanage gets their own dog. That Madeline. Don't confuse things. But of course, Lily Allen is having a full-on crash out because she came to an awards ceremony recently dressed like this. And everyone's saying that it's a revenge costume, etc., etc., etc. Now, post doing the lyrics from West End Girl and reading them to you all in a very dramatic fashion, I had a good time with that. I decided that I would go and read her biography. She wrote a memoir detailing her life and the breakdown of her first marriage with Sam Cooper and the loss of her first baby. And I wanted to read the book because I thought, who is this person who would write an album like she did about David Harbour? Granted, I think what he did was terrible, but I just thought, what an interesting way to deal with it by airing all your laundry in music. And not that that is so atypical. Most songwriters who go through a breakup will allude to it, but I mean, this is not an alluding to. This was a diary word for word of what had happened. Nothing's cloaked in secrecy. I mean, it is bam, bam, bam in your face. Some of the most scandalous and scathing things I've ever read or heard about. And I just wondered, like, what brought you to this place? And as I was reading about her breakup to Sam and all the things that she did in that relationship that were just incredibly damaging. And the whole time it was all because she wanted Sam to come rescue her and he just never did. I'm like, well, I don't blame Sam. You know, you're acting wild in America, sleeping with anything that moves, drinking, smoking, taking drugs. And you want Sam to just rise above it and come rescue you? I mean, it's like, okay, well, I can see why you didn't. But then when David decides to spurn her and do basically the same thing she did to Sam, like the same things, suddenly she can't handle it. And she's wanting to come out and write an album and then base her Halloween costume off of the betrayal. And then she wants to come out in this tiny little number with her breast barely covered. And it's supposed to be revenge so that David feels bad. I mean, he should feel bad. I'm not saying that he shouldn't, but why do you even care what he thinks? Like, he's such, like, in your words, he's such a scumbag. The only thing I can think is that Lily Allen did a lot of terrible things in her past and then had met David and thought, I want to be a better person. I don't want to do those things to David, and I certainly wouldn't want him to do those things to me, and we're going to have a relationship in which we wouldn't do those things to each other. I'm a different person than I was when I was married to Sam. Just because I did those things in the past doesn't mean I think that that is the way to behave. And when I met David and when I married David, I was on a completely different moral trajectory. And I thought he was too. So that's the only reason I can think as to why she can justify her rage and indignation is because she'd made a different deal with David than she'd even made with herself when she was married to David Cooper. No, or Sam Cooper, sorry. And I think maybe her indignation isn't that she can't comprehend why someone would do this, but it's just that they'd agreed not to be those people, and then he was anyway. But at what point are you just going to decide that the whole world doesn't have to be involved in your pain? I don't get it. Because she's really annoyed and angry all the time that everybody has dissected her life. But she writes a tell-all memoir in which she literally holds nothing back. Then she writes an album later after the deterioration of her other marriage, detailing everything, leaving nothing to the imagination. She comes out in a Halloween costume about it, and then she wants to prance around and be like, this is revenge. David needs to see what is missing. Well, I mean, okay, but then don't be mad that people are talking about your life when you dish it up for us like this, you know? I don't get it. Meanwhile, David Harbour's problems continue to expand because while Lily Allen is writing scathing albums about his sexual indiscretions, Millie Bobby Brown, his co-star on Stranger Things, is coming out saying that he bullied her for years. And as they've been doing the last season of Stranger Things, she approached that season by filing allegations against him of bullying. Now, he's 50 and she's 21, so at any point, if he was bullying her in any way, what the heck, man? I mean, you're way too old. Why are you bullying a little kid? Now, I have not read or heard much details about specific allegations. But suffice it to say, David's having a real tough time. Regardless of the fact that the allegations are out there, though, Millie Bobby Brown and David Harbour came to the premiere of this season. So, arriving together kind of puts the kibosh on rumors that it was really, really terrible between them. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying I think, and it would appear that they have settled things enough to be around each other for this premiere. So, I don't know. I'd love for David to come out and say his side of things. He's alluded to it slightly and said that, things got a little wobbly for him, the last couple of years. But he hasn't been like, yeah, and then I had this secret house that I told my wife was a dojo, but really it's where I brought people. He's not gotten as open as Lily Allen, which at this point, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out, should he or shouldn't he? What would be better? Would it be better to just stay silent and let her spin out? Because she has a history of spinning out when things don't go right with her husbands. After Sam Cooper and she divorced, or they weren't even divorced yet. They were just not living in the same house, but they weren't even officially separated or officially divorced. She had already moved on and had a new boyfriend, which Sam knew about. But then when they got divorced and Sam had a new girlfriend, Lily couldn't handle it, literally lost her mind and had to be committed. Screaming, breaking dishes, burning herself with cigarettes, the family had to take her to the mental institution. So she definitely has a double standard in life. She can do it, but you can't do it. And if she does it, you can't question her. She's just learning and experiencing and growing. And if you do things, then you're just a monster. 4chan Stan, I believe is what she calls it.